Psalm 9. I want you to look at Psalm 9, verse 1, and then just look at verse 1 of Psalm 9 first. I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will show forth all thy marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in thee. I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. That's a pretty good start, isn't it? Now look at Psalm 10, verse 1. Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble? Well, which is it? Is it Psalm 9 or is it Psalm 10? You'd think that this guy was bipolar or something. No, he is like we are. He has great days, and then he has other days that he would not call great at all. So let's look at the great days first. Psalm 9, I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will show forth all thy marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice. I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. When mine enemies are turned back, they shall fall and perish at thy presence. He's still got problems. He's still got enemies. For thou hast maintained my right and my cause. Thou sattest in the throne judging right. God, you have intervened on my behalf. Thou hast rebuked the heathen. Thou hast destroyed the wicked. Thou hast put out their name forever and ever. O thou enemy, destructions are come to a perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities. Their memorial is perished with them. But not the Lord. The Lord shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment. So let's think about this for a minute. Is he saying that everything is all right today? No. He's not saying everything is perfect and all right today. He is looking to what God has done in the past, and he is looking to what God will be doing in the future. He recognizes, I came across a statement this week that I thought was pretty good. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Life does not have to be perfect to be wonderful. And here's a guy who's got a wonderful God and a wonderful concept of God, and he's doing okay even though life is not perfect. The Lord shall endure forever. Verse 8, he shall judge the world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. And he's going to fix it for some of the people that are hurting too. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. Because he has not forsaken those that seek thee, what does he say? All right, let's sing. He starts out. I want to sing to the Lord. He says it again, verse 11. Sing praises to the Lord who dwells in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. When he makes inquisition he's going to settle the accounts. When he makes inquisition for blood, he remembereth them. He forgets not the cry of the humble. And oh, by the way, I have some problems too. Have mercy upon me, verse 13. My life is wonderful, but it's not perfect. Have mercy upon me, O Lord. Consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. Thou that liftest me up from the gates of death, that I may show forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation. Even though life is not perfect, it is wonderful because I have you as my God. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid is their own foot taken. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executes. But the wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higeon, it's probably a term for music. The wicked, God's going to settle a score. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. Seems like sometimes they are, according to chapter 10, verse 1. But the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish forever. And because of that, I'm saying, Lord, O Lord, arise. Let not man prevail. Let the heathen, let those that reject you be judged in your sight. Put them in fear, O Lord, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Think about that for a little while. So here in chapter 9, you got a guy, and he knows that life is far from perfect. As a matter of fact, he's got huge problems. Huge problems. But what does he do? He starts out, I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will show forth all thy marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in thee. I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. Did you count how many times the word I will is there? Look in just those two verses. I will, I will, I will, I will. 4 or 5? 4? Wow. So the Christian life, can't remember who said it. Might have been Amy Carmichael, might have been somebody else. The Christian life is lived in the will, not in the emotions. If your life is lived in the emotions, you're not going to be a Psalm 9 person. You're going to be more of a Psalm 10 person, at least the beginning of the psalm. If your happiness or your joy or your blessing depends on what is happening rather than who God is, you're not going to have a Psalm 9 heart. The Christian life should not be lived in the emotions. The Christian life should be lived in the will. I will do thy will. Not my will, but thine be done. Who said it, and when did he say it? When things were going very badly for him. The Christian life is lived in the will. That doesn't mean that emotions don't come, because they will come. But if your mind is concentrating on chapter 10, verse 1, and everything that is wrong, and everything that is going wrong, rather than who God is, you're not going to feel very good. You just aren't. Your emotions are going to be kind of junky. We feel the way we think. We feel the way we think. We've all had the experience of waking up in the middle of the night having had a dream of some kind. And the dream is 10 times out of 9, it is not positive. It's negative. Maybe you're falling and you're falling into this deep thing. Or maybe somebody's chasing you and you can't get away from them. And you're going as slow as and when you wake up, you're really emotionally upset. What has happened? Nothing. Not nary one thing. It's all been in your mind. Right? And so the point is that we feel the way we think. Now, this is not just psychological babble. This is biblical truth. That's why God says in the New Testament, think on these things. What does he say? Let's go turn to it very quickly. Philippians. Whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are, where is it? Philippians what? Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians 4. 8. What comes before that? Look at verse 4, Philippians 4. Rejoice in the Lord always, even in the midst of Psalm 9, and again I say rejoice. Let your moderation, your gentleness, your calmness be known unto all men. Why? Because the Lord is close to you. Be full of care about nothing. Don't be just a Psalm 10 verse 1 type of a guy where your life is filled with nothing but negative. Be careful for nothing, but instead, in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto God. Isn't that what the guy did in Psalm 9? Sure enough did. And what happens? Was the guy in Psalm 9 characterized by verse 7? Yes. And the peace of God that passes all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And how are you going to maintain that? Well, look at the next verse. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, if they're pure, if they're lovely, if they're of good report, if they're any virtue, any praise, think about these things. Think about these things, and you'll be like the Apostle Paul, who in just a few more verses says what? I've learned that whatever state I'm in, whether it's Psalm 9 or Psalm 10, I've learned to be content. What is contentment? Contentment is resting in the sovereign, loving, wise, sovereign God for me at this moment in time. And I think that's what the psalmist was doing. He was, and back to Psalm 9 again, I will praise thee, I will show forth thy marvelous works, I will be glad and rejoice in thee, I will sing praise to thy name. I'm going to do all of this. I am going to obey God in my mind, and I'm going to be filled with who God is and what he has done and what he will do someday, not just what's going on right now with all my troubles. It doesn't remove our troubles, but what it does do is it helps us to get through them to the other side. Because there will be another side. There will be. There's hope. There's hope.